If you were to send or carry a very precious crystal vase somewhere, how would you carry it? Very carefully, right? You would package it carefully, layer upon layer. In addition to providing strong outer layer protection, you would also place soft, cushioning materials between the outer protection and the vase as well, because even if the outer layers are very strong, if you were to place it directly there, it could still shatter inside because of movement and all that. You would carry it perfectly intact. What would this show? All of this that you do would signify your wisdom, your will, your intellect and your knowledge. Also, you would do all this because of a purpose that you have. Let's now look. How has our Almighty Lord safeguarded our brain, which is a magnificent computer far more valuable than a crystal vase? He has safeguarded it with the strongest bone structure in our body, our skull. But he has also placed soft cushioning structures between the skull and the brain. Moreover, a miraculous phenomenon occurs at the initial formation of this hard skull, a miracle filled with wisdom. Now if we look at the skull of a fully developed baby who is about to emerge from the mother's womb, we see that it is soft. There are gaps between the bones. It has such a structure that if you were to squeeze the head it would shrink, and then if you would let it go it would expand. As the birth canal is very narrow, this is extremely necessary, extremely full of wisdom. If it were fully developed into a hard, bony structure, the baby would have a much harder time moving through the birth canal and might even get stuck, potentially harming both the mother and him or herself. And even worse, the space needed for the brain to grow would be quite limited, causing the brain to be compressed, unable to develop, and incapable of functioning. In other words, everything is so beautifully and wisely created that all of these magnificent creation clearly confirms the statements in the verses of the Quran. This situation once again demonstrates that the Quran is the exegesis of this universe. Take, for example, the soft areas that we call fontanelle in medicine, which we also refer to as the soft spot. This protective helmet with its soft parts is gently fitted to our brain. Later, as the child grows, it gradually hardens, becoming fully ossified around the ages of 2 to 4. This is crucial because brain development of the child continues for the first 4, 6 or even 7 years, with the most rapid development occurring during the first year, when the skull structure is still very soft. This development starts slowing down after the first year as the child grows and the skull gets ossified. So this developmental process up until the age of 4 requires that this bony structure does not harden suddenly, but rather that it hardens and closes gradually in a manner full of wisdom, which is exactly what happens. Who is behind this flawless, perfect and infinitely wise action? Can it be those simple structures or inconscient cells who are behind all this wisdom and perfection? Absolutely not. Yeah, how absurd of an idea it is to think that. The cerebrospinal fluid, which is shown in blue here, is located between the arachnoid membrane and the pia mater. It envelops our brain like the albumen around the yolk, surrounding it completely and keeping it afloat. This prevents the brain from sticking to the sides, getting crushed, flipping over, and also prevents the blood vessels from getting occluded and thereby the blood circulation from being disrupted. It, the fluid, absorbs and reduces impact energy, protecting the brain from injury. It also cleanses the brain of waste materials and dead cells. Look at how many functions it performs. Can I, while giving a lecture here, also take care of my child at the same time? I can't. Look, I can't perform 2 tasks at once, and yet, how many tasks do these inconscient matters perform simultaneously? This cerebrospinal fluid cleanses the brain of waste materials and dead cells, nourishes the brain, supplies it with oxygen, and maintains a very delicate balance of pressure, demonstrating a measure, a balance, and a divine being who set that balance. Moreover, although it is continuously being both produced and absorbed, it is maintained at a stable level of 80 to 150 milliliters. We had some blood test charts we showed on the screens earlier. There were specific ranges in which certain things in blood must be continuously kept for the body to function properly. When we look at the results of blood tests, the digits are always within the ranges mentioned. This is a sign of Allah's mercy. The choroid plexus are the structures that produce the cerebrospinal fluid. They are also in the brain. Imagine a small part of the brain is responsible for producing a fluid that protects, cleanses and nourishes the brain, all at the same time. And this fluid, which is both produced and functions in the brain, is always kept at a balance, a measure despite it continuously being produced and absorbed. Now, who informed the choroid plexus of this measure? Could it know how to do all of this by itself, even if something or someone were to tell it? Does it have a consciousness and intellect? No, we know it doesn't. The choroid plexus is simply just a piece of tissue. The continuous regulation and maintenance of all of this measure and balance are clear manifestations of an unmatched wisdom which the simple structures, basic tissues in the brain cannot possibly possess themselves. So it is unarguably evident that there indeed is a divine being acting behind all these occurrences in the brain.